Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and today we got a jam-packed show for you. We're going to get you ready for Week 14 in the NFL. We're going to go over all the records and milestones that can be broken today. We're going to talk about all the news coming out of the NFL, and we're also going to cover the conference championship games from college football this weekend, and today is Selection Sunday. Now, it is a very, very big day in college football because Selection Sunday means the college football playoffs are not too far away. The teams that get selected for the college football playoffs get selected today, plus bowl games, the bowl schedule. Now, if your team isn't going to be in the college football playoff, but they had a good year and you know they're going to go bowling, then today is the day to find out what bowl game your team is going to be in. College football playoffs, they start on December 19th and December 20th with the first round. The quarterfinals are on December 31st and January 1st. The semifinals are on January 8th and 9th, and then the national championship is on January 19th from Miami Gardens in Miami, Florida. And, you look at how the college football season went, you can almost kind of tell about 2 weeks ago who might be in this thing. And I also have a posed question for you guys as we talk about what teams might make the college football playoff. Teams that are going to get picked for the college football playoff. Me and John yesterday were having almost a full day of discussion as the day went on, as conference champions were being crowned. We were having full-on discussions almost all day on who is going to possibly make the college football playoff. And today, at 12 o'clock, we go on that 3-hour ride on who gets picked. Because as we know, the show starts at noontime, and it ends at about 3 o'clock. Now, me and John, we were talking about whether we were going to go live today, later on, after everything was said and done, or during the show. Now, instead of going live and trying to follow everything live for the 3 hours, we're just going to gather our information and get everything together for you guys on Tuesday. So we'll be live at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, our normal time, to recap everything that happens today from Selection Sunday. And that way, Tuesday night can be dedicated to everything we're getting from the 3-hour show today for Selection Sunday. Now, we will recap Week 14 in the NFL. We will. But we're going to spend a lot of time on the college football playoffs, the teams that got picked, and bowls, all the other bowls. We can't overlook all the other bowl games, because there's teams that are not going to be in the playoff that legitimately, and excuse my language, busted their ass to even make a bowl game this year. A lot of teams out there. But I got a very important question for you guys as we get in to talking about what's going down today and teams that are going to be selected. Before we get into it, though, I want to remind everybody that we're on social media over on X, TikTok, YouTube, and on the Twitch channel. We're on X, YouTube, and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the follow button over on the X and on the TikTok. On the YouTube, you're going to hit the subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. And then you're obviously going to hit the follow button over on the Twitch channel. All of the links to all our social medias are in the bio in the Twitch channel. So whatever social media you desire, hopefully it's all of them. But if you have a desired location on social media, you just click on that link. It'll take you right to that social media. You hit the follow button on the YouTube. You hit the subscribe button and help us build the Huddle Hub podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. So let's get into it. Let's get into the first order of business, and that is conference championship games that happened yesterday and on Friday night, because there were games on Friday night. And let's run down the scores. In the Big 12, we had number 4 Texas Tech defeat number 11 BYU 34-7. So Texas Tech is the Big 12 champions. In the MAC, Western Michigan defeated Miami of Ohio 23-13. Number 3, Georgia defeated number 9, Alabama 28-7 to become the SEC champions. In the Big 10, number 2, Indiana knocked off number 1, Ohio State 13-10 to become the Big 10 champions. In the ACC, Duke defeated number 17, Virginia 27-20 in overtime. For the American Conference, number 22, Tulane defeated number 24, North Texas 34-21. For the Sun Belt, number 25, James Madison defeated Troy 31-14. For Conference USA, Kennesaw State defeated Jacksonville State 19-15. For the Mountain West, Boise State defeated UNLV 38-21. Those are your scores from the conference championship weekend. Now, you sit and think about the rankings, and it's something we follow all year. I mean, we followed this thing literally from week 0 when there was probably one ranked team that played all of that weekend in week 0, because week 0, you really don't see a lot of the ranked teams playing. You'll probably catch one or two that have a scheduled game that's against, FCS Southeast or FCS, Midwest, or one of those schools that really, it reflects on the record, but it doesn't really reflect on their record. And what I mean by that is they play, they win that game, the team is 1-0, but it doesn't matter. It's an exhibition game that goes on the record, but even if they were to go out and lose, let's just say, for example, Penn State went out and faced an FCS team and they lost. Even though they lose that game, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't reflect on them at all. They go into week 1 pretty much still 0-0, right? So, my big question here is, because we're going to get into predicting the college football playoffs. There's a certain conference that I feel like, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel like, is overlooked. First off, congratulations to all the teams that have won their conferences. Number 1, Texas Tech wins the Big 12. Western Michigan wins the MAC. Georgia won the SEC. Indiana wins the Big 10. Duke wins the ACC. Tulane wins the American Conference. James Madison wins the Sun Belt. Kennesaw State wins Conference USA. And Boise State wins the Mountain West. Those are your conference champions. Okay? So let's get into predicting the college football playoff. Like I said at the top of the show, is Selection Sunday. Okay? Now, John made his predictions. I made my predictions. And I'll say this. I looked at other analysts' predictions for the college football playoff. And let me just put it this way. 11 of the 12 teams that I predicted to make the college football playoff, every other analyst, major analysts, are predicting the same teams to make the college football playoff. So, but one team that's not predicted to make is out of a conference that I posed the question on of being overlooked. Now, we've seen it 2 years ago to where a team from this conference went undefeated. And then when Selection Sunday came along, didn't get picked. Outrage. Last year, another team went out, won this conference, had a great season, didn't get picked. And this was the expansion of the playoffs. Now this year, the question poses, is this going to be the third year in a row that a team from this conference gets overlooked, whether it's the conference champion or a team that did very well in this conference? And that is the ACC. Now, for my predictions, for my predictions, I have Indiana being at number 1. I have Georgia at number 2, Texas Tech being number 3, and Ohio State, since they lost yesterday, getting knocked down to number 4, which means they'll still have a first-round bye. Even though they lost the Big Ten title, I still think Ohio State gets that first-round bye. They're the 4 seed. They're not going to end up in the first round. But the teams that I do have in the first round, at number 5, Oregon from the Big Ten. Ole Miss at number 6 from the SEC. At number 7, Texas A&M from the SEC. Number 8 is going to be, I'm predicting Tulane, the American Conference champions, being number 8. I predict Notre Dame from the Independents at number 9. Alabama from the SEC at 10. I have Miami at number 11 from the ACC. And number 12, James Madison, the Sun Belt champions. That's my predicted playoff. So, with my predictions, as this being the playoff, it would be Oregon taking on James Madison, 5 versus 12. Ole Miss at 6 facing number 11, Miami. Number 7, Texas A&M taking on number 10, Alabama. And number 9, Notre Dame taking on number 8, Tulane in the first round, with Indiana, Texas Tech, Georgia, and Ohio State having the first round bye. Now, a lot of the analysts that are predicting the college football playoffs do not have an ACC team in the college football playoffs. Even though Duke, who made the ACC title game with the record that they had this year and went out and won the game in overtime yesterday, beating number 17 Virginia, who had a great year, finished 10-2, and only had, I believe, 1 loss in the ACC, not getting picked to make the playoff. Now, Miami, who had a 2-game slump but bounced back, finished 10-2. They're being overlooked as well. But when you look at head-to-head matchups, why should Miami not be being picked? Why should Virginia not be being picked? So the real question is the ACC the most overlooked conference in college football, but yet still considered one of the big conferences in college sports? You go to basketball, ACC is one of the top conferences in college basketball. In college baseball, one of the top conferences. Now, I don't know too much about hockey or volleyball or the other sports, and that I mean no disrespect to those sports whatsoever. None. Because those kids go out and play their hearts out. But the ACC is supposed to be one of the top conferences in college sports, period. But when you get to this, you got teams from Conference USA, the Sun Belt Conference, the American Conference, and the Mountain West, who are overlooking the ACC. Again, James Madison, who won the Sun Belt. Tulane, who won the American Conference. So why is the ACC champion not being involved in this conversation? Why? I don't get it. So me and John both made predictions, which you heard mine here. And John has his, which we'll talk about on Tuesday, on the Tuesday show, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Huddle Hub Podcast, Twitch, and YouTube. Okay? We're going to talk about this. Because if an ACC team does not make it, it'll be the 3rd year in a row an ACC team gets looked over after having a hell of a year. Florida State 2 years ago. Clemson last year. And now Duke or Virginia or Miami getting overlooked. Why is the ACC being treated this way? Why? But we'll have to find out come noontime. When Selection Sunday starts, it is a 3-hour show today. 3 hours. And again, me and John, we did discuss whether we were going to go live for Selection Sunday or not, but instead we are going to gather all of our information and get everything together and situate it for Tuesday, so that way we can have a very nice big show for you guys on Tuesday night surrounding the college football playoffs, everything that comes from Selection Sunday, and all the bowl games, because we will talk about the other bowl games. Teams winning and going out and making bowl games, that's a big deal. And you're probably thinking, Mike, why is it such a big deal for a team to go and make it to the Pop-Tart Bowl? Well, because that's money that's going to go to the school that you cheer for, that's going to help for recruiting, NIL deals, everything. Make your team better, just like the NFL. So it's a big deal. So we're going to talk about the Pop-Tart Bowl. We're going to talk about, I don't know what other bowls I can really think of off the top of my head. So you know what I mean. We're going to talk about them all. But I want to pose that question for you guys, and when we come back on Tuesday night, we're going to talk about it. Is the ACC the most overlooked conference in college football? With Virginia finishing in the ranks, with Miami finishing in the ranks, and with Duke winning the ACC championship, is the ACC the most overlooked conference in college football? Would you consider it that if no team gets picked for the playoffs this year again? So we'll have to see what happens today on Selection Sunday, starting at noontime today over on ESPN. And again, me and John are going to talk about everything on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Huddle Hub Podcast, Twitch, and YouTube channel as we get rolling here. So let's get into the news coming out of the NFL. I know I didn't talk too much about the conference title games today, and we really posed that question out. We really tried to hit the mark on that because, again, it's just the overlookment of the ACC, and it's kind of a ridiculous thing. But me and John will dive deeper into everything on Tuesday. Again, the college football playoffs and everything is going to be a big focus for us on Tuesday. So we'll dig more into the conference championship games. We'll dig into everything surrounding the college football playoff. So, I mean, congratulations to all the conference champions. Indiana going out and upsetting Ohio State, which in a great game, in a great game between those two ball clubs. Georgia going out and handling Alabama tremendously, 28-14. I mean, it's congratulations to all the conference champions, and we will cover more on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's get into the news coming out of the NFL. A lot of big news coming out of the NFL this week. I mean, another thing we're digging into is the playoffs for the NFL. We are in week 14 already. Week 14. We got past Thanksgiving, Halloween. I mean, we're 3 weeks away from Christmas. We are 3 weeks away from the Christmas. It's crazy how fast this year has gone. Insane how fast this season is going. We're in the final week of fantasy football. By the way, I did better than I did last year. I finished 3-11 last year. If I win this week, I will finish the season 6-8. So I had progression from last year, improvement from last year. I came down to last week, needed somebody to lose and I needed to win in order to go into this week having a chance, but it didn't roll that way. So what didn't help was the stupid trade that I made that I regret, and not going to happen again. I'll say that. Not going to happen again. But Week 14, that's what we're getting into here. And you look at the playoff picture in the NFL, which has been a crazy ride so far. A crazy ride. Right now, when you look at the NFL playoff picture in the AFC, you have the Patriots at 11-2 with the 1 seed, the Broncos 10-2 at the 2 seed, Jaguars are 8-4 in the 3 seed, the Ravens are 6-6 in the 4 seed, Chargers are the 5 seed at 8-4, the Colts are 8-4 at the 6 seed, the Bills 8-4 in the 7 seed, with the Texans on the outside looking in. Texans are 7-5 with the 8 seed, the Steelers 6-6 with the 9 seed, along with the Chiefs in the 10 seed. And then the other teams that are still alive, Dolphins, Bengals, Jets, Browns. You have the Raiders and Titans who are officially eliminated. Over on the NFC side of things, the Bears are the number 1 seed at 9-3. The Rams are number 2 at 9-3. The Eagles 8-4 at 3. The Buccaneers are the 4 seed at 7-5. Then you got the Seahawks in the 5th seed at 9-3. Packers 8-3-1 in the 6th seed. 49ers are 9-4 with the 7th seed. On the outside looking in, you got the Lions at 8-5. The Panthers at 7-6. Cowboys 6-6-1, and then you got the Falcons at 4-8, Vikings 4-8, Commanders 3-9. Possibly going to be eliminated today if the Commanders, well, the loser of the Commanders Vikings game today will probably be eliminated. Most likely, it's going to happen. And then the Falcons, if they lose today, will most likely be eliminated. You got the Cardinals, Saints, and Giants who are already gone, already eliminated from the playoffs this year. So it's all about draft now, basically, for these teams that are officially eliminated. But let's get into the news coming out of the NFL this week. Ravens fans, you got yourself a tight end for the next 3 years. Mark Andrews, tight end from the Ravens, has signed a 3-year, $39.3 million extension with the team. So he is going to be a Raven for the next 3 years. Mark Andrews adding on to the contract that he's already had. I mean, this is a smart move for the Ravens, because the tight end position, it has been highlighted this year. It has. We are seeing tight ends going out and breaking records. Trey McBride right now, which we will talk about his record during the Records and Milestones segment, has been having a pretty good year. Travis Kelce, he's in the Records and Milestones talk this week, having a good year. George Kittle, 49ers, having a good year, even though he started the year off a little shaky with the injury, still having a good year. So the tight end position is almost like what the running back position was last year, but not as highlighted, but still has the focus, okay? So now teams are going to start locking up tight ends, and the Ravens making this move, not letting Mark Andrews hit the market at free agency and locking him in for another 3 years. Smart move by the Ravens, smart move by Mark Andrews, because he's been in the league for a little bit, locking himself up and getting himself a contract, $39.3 million for 3 years with the Ravens. Very, very smart. Kyler Murray, quarterback of the Cardinals, he is deemed out for the season. There was reports back on Wednesday that there has been no progression with his injury whatsoever, and now the future with the Cardinals for Kyler Murray is in doubt, which means the team doesn't seem as invested in him anymore. And he is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He is going to hit the market, and it looks like the Cardinals are going to let that happen. It doesn't seem like the Cardinals have any more commitment to Kyler Murray anymore. They filled his term, and they extended him. So they've given him more than opportunity after opportunity to prove himself in Arizona, and it has not worked out as well as they thought. And it seems like they're going to move on. And there's some good quarterbacks coming into the draft class this year. You got Drew Aller out of Penn State, who sadly enough had to end his season early with an injury. And you got other quarterbacks that are coming out that could come in and do the job from day one. So, and then you got other quarterbacks that are hitting the market this year. You got Daniel Jones out in Indianapolis. He's only on a 1 year. So you got other quarterbacks that are going to be on the market, ready to go, and the Cardinals it looks like they're going to, cash their chips in on Kyler Murray and move on and look for another quarterback for 2026. That's what it looks like right now. So Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver of the Cardinals, he's going to be out today against the Rams. This is going to be the third straight game that Marvin Harrison Jr. is out. Maybe another player the Cardinals are going to think about, because This year hasn't been the best year for Marvin Harrison. And last year, being his rookie year, he had a pretty decent year. But these are the things that teams start looking at and saying, like, look, I know you're in year 2, but you haven't been on the field most of the year or even half the year. And if we get into next year and we got to start doing these contract talks and you can't stay on the field, guess what? You're out the door. Teams are starting to move on from things a lot sooner than people think it's happening. So, these players got to start thinking about this stuff. And it's understandable that there's guidelines that teams have to follow with injuries and stuff, concussion protocol and everything like that. But, if a player's cleared and they're ready to go, get on the field. Look at Jaden Daniels. He was cleared to go this week. There was a lot of talk this week about the possibilities of him still not playing, even though he practiced. And the decision was made. He is going to start against the Vikings this week. So Jaden Daniels is back in the lineup. So it went from Monday afternoon being cleared, but still doubtful he was going to play, to Friday morning. Guess what? Jaden Daniels, he's in. He's going. He's playing. He's getting himself back out there. Regardless on whether he was told, hey, let's take another week. You can still play, but why don't you take another week? No, get me out there. Let's start playing football. Now, when you look at the Commanders, they're 1 foot out. They're 3-9. They lose today to the Vikings. They're done. They're still mathematically in it because of the way things have gone in the NFC East, with the Eagles losing to the Cowboys 2 weeks ago. So they're still alive. But realistically, at 3-9, the Eagles are going to have a big downfall. The Cowboys are basically going to have to crap the bed. And, in order for the Commanders to even have an opportunity, they're 3-9. They're basically done. Unless those two things happen, which I don't see happening. So, but Jaden Daniels is going to start today for the Commanders. Darius Slay, defensive back. He was waived by the Steelers on Tuesday. He was claimed off waivers by Buffalo. There was a lot of talk about him going back to Philadelphia, and he wanted to go back to Philly. He did, but the Bills, who are on the waiver wire list first for clearance, picked him up, and he said to Buffalo, look, I'm not showing up. I'm not coming. I just moved to Pittsburgh, basically, and, not going. Not coming to Buffalo. So do with that as you must. Well, Buffalo puts him on the retirement list that's out there, and that's that. Now, whether it's known Buffalo is going to release him or not and let him go play somewhere else, and that's even if Darius Slay wants to play any more football this year. He had mentioned on a podcast that he settled in Pittsburgh. He just got there, and he doesn't want to move his family again. Plus, Buffalo, it's cold up there. It is. It's cold up in Buffalo this time of the year. Snow. They have mountains of snow up there by now. I don't blame him. Sticks around in Pennsylvania. Even though it's western Pennsylvania, it's a lot colder than the eastern Pennsylvania. It's still the point. He wants to stay there. Now, there was consideration, I believe, that he wanted to come back to Philly and play in Philly this year, which he won a Super Bowl in Philly last year. So I don't know if that's still on the table or not. I'm sure we'll hear about that as the days go on. But Darius Slay, as of right now, even though he was picked up off of waivers by Buffalo, is not showing up. So Bills fans, don't count on Darius Slay. If you were counting on Darius Slay to show up, it's not happening. Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Ravens, despite missing practice for a couple days this week, he is going to be good to go against the Steelers today. So if you are a Ravens fan, have no fear. Lamar Jackson is here. He is going to play against Pittsburgh today. This is a big matchup. This is a big playoff implicated matchup between the Steelers and Ravens today, because you look at the playoff positioning right now. The Ravens are 6-6. They're the 4th seed. And the Steelers are 6 sitting in the 9th seed. If the Steelers win today, the Steelers retake the lead out in the AFC North. If the Ravens win, the Ravens stay in first. So that 4 seed is really going to be determined between right now the Ravens and the Steelers. But a team who is 2 games out at 4-8 are the Bengals. The Browns are 3-9. They're 3 games out in the AFC North. That's why the Browns are still alive, because they're only 3 games out. And you got to think, teams are what, 9-3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 games left, 5 games left. A 3-9 team who's 3 games back in their division is still alive. Now, you'd probably would deem that the Browns are out already, but they're 3 games back. And the Steelers aren't playing the best football. The Ravens aren't playing the best football. And the Bengals, I mean, Joe Burrow, it's yet to be known whether Joe Burrow is going to be a savior or not coming back in. I mean, he came back last week and completely dismantled the Ravens. So maybe it's not too late for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Who knows? Had a great performance last week against Baltimore. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that AFC North pitcher pans out. So George Pickens, wide receiver of the Cowboys, he went on to say that he is unsure whether he is going to re-sign with Dallas or not in 2026. Obviously, George Pickens, who came from Pittsburgh to Dallas in a trade this year, there was no deal done after that. So basically, he came into Dallas saying, hey, this is my year here. But now he's saying there's a possibility he may not be back next year. Number one, it's going to depend on the contract. It's going to depend on the numbers in the contract and what he gets paid and all that. But, there's a chance that George Pickens may only have 1 year in Dallas, and then he may be gone. And believe me, with the way George Pickens is playing this year, this is a contract year for him. He is having a hell of a year, proving to teams, hey, don't be afraid to spend the money on me, because I will ball out. And that's exactly what he's doing this year. So, Cowboys fans, don't get your hopes up. Enjoy George Pickens now, because he may be gone after 2025. So, a couple injuries to talk about. Drake London, wide receiver of the Falcons, he is going to be out today against the Seahawks. Sauce Gardner, defensive back from the Colts, he left the game early last week against the Texans. He's going to be out this week against the Jaguars. T. Higgins, wide receiver of the Bengals, he was cleared from concussion protocol, so he is going to play. T. Higgins is good to go. Justin Fields, he is going to be deemed out. Now, we know Justin Fields was benched 2-3 weeks ago. Quarterback for the Jets was benched 2-3 weeks ago. Rookie Brady Cook is going to take his place as the QB2. Okay, so this was all QB2 news. So Justin Fields out, Brady Cook in as QB2. So Justin Fields right now out. I mean, Justin Fields, the year that he's had, it's been rough. Coming in from Pittsburgh after becoming a free agent, getting the starting job in New York, the hopes of him, possibly taking New York to the promised land in the playoffs, and that quickly slipped away. And now he sits on the bench, but injured this week, and he's a QB2. So, Brian Branch, defensive back of the Lions, he left the game on Thursday against the Cowboys in the fourth quarter with it is now known that it is a torn Achilles that he left the game with. So, tough loss for that Lions defense. Tough loss. J.J. McCarthy, quarterback of the Vikings, he was cleared out of concussion protocol and could possibly start against the Commanders. So, Jaden Daniels gets out of his injury protocol, plays today. J.J. McCarthy gets out of his injury protocol. I mean, this could be a matchup today between the Commanders and the Vikings. You never know. Two teams who are 1 foot out the door in the playoff race could give you one of the best games today. Just remember that. J.J. McCarthy and Jaden Daniels. So we'll have to see. Greg Dortch, wide receiver of the Cardinals, he did not practice this week due to chest injury. He did practice this week, but is still dealing with a chest injury, so there's a chance Greg Dortch may not play today for the Cardinals. So the Cardinals wide receiver depth chart is looking very, very slim right now. Very slim. Defensive tackle Jalen Carter from the Eagles. He's going to be out on Monday night against the Chargers. He had a shoulder procedure done this week on both of his shoulders. He is going to be week to week, but there's chances that he may be back as soon as next week. But he is going to be out on Monday night against the Chargers. Two more things. Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Eagles, he was more involved in the offensive preparations for this week's Monday night game against the Chargers. As we know, the Eagles have struggled tremendously on offense these past couple weeks. Even the offensive coordinator, his house got egged last week after losing to the Bears. Fans are not happy in Philly with the way the offense is being ran, and now Nick Sirianni was more involved this week, and we should see a change in the Philly offense. He did this last year. He did this the year before that, and the improvement late in the season. Obviously 2 years ago with the 6-game stretch of losing didn't help, but last year took over some of the offensive play calling towards the back end of the year, and poof, Super Bowl champions. Bam. And like I said, I didn't see the Eagles being on a long stretch of bad weeks of offense. I think it ends this week against the Chargers, and I think they go out and bounce back, and we start seeing the Eagles offense that we all have come to know from last year. So, last bit of news, the NFL, they are setting field standards that every team has to meet by the beginning of the 2027 season. Now, throughout the year, we've been seeing a lot of games with bad field conditions. Pittsburgh game a couple weeks ago. On Saturday, the University of Pittsburgh played a game. The next day, the Steelers played a game, and the field conditions were horrible. We've been seeing it in NFL stadiums all year long. And the NFL is saying this is going to end. The NFL is forcing all teams by the beginning of the 2027 season that there is going to be a catalog of ways teams have to treat their fields and standards that have to be met, and all teams have to be up to standards by 2027. So that's that. There's a couple teams that do have some standard things that they do, like the Dolphins. They have their own facilities to where they grow their field. That's why in Miami you don't see bad field conditions much in Miami, because they have their own way of taking care of their field. They have their own location off site that they grow their field on. Do yourself a favor. Go watch Hard Knocks the year that the Miami Dolphins did their Hard Knocks, and it shows you in that documentary how they do it. And if you go and watch that, that's what this standard is. That's what this is being talked about. So go check that out. Do yourself a favor after the show today and go check that out if you don't have any games to watch. So yeah, that's the news coming out of the NFL. Let's get into the records and milestones that could be broken this week. And then after this, we will take about a 30-second break and then get you guys ready for week 14 in the NFL. Very quick show today, very short show today. Cam, he's a little busy this month with work and everything like that. So you're going to be seeing most likely through the whole month of December, just seeing me on Sundays. But Cam will be back in January as we get ready for the playoffs for the Sunday show. But me and John will be here on Tuesday for you guys as well. So we'll recap what happens in week 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 and through the playoffs. So we got a schedule planned out for you guys moving along through the playoffs for the NFL. So, stay tuned. So let's get into the records and milestones that could be broken this week in the NFL, starting off with Myles Garrett, defensive end of the Browns. As we know, he has 19 sacks this season. He is 3.5 sacks away from tying the 22.5 season sack record set by Michael Strahan back in 2001 and matched by TJ Watt back in 2021. So 3.5 sacks for Myles Garrett, and he will tie the 22.5 season sack record. Just think, he is 4 full sacks away from breaking the sack record. It's crazy. And there's a lot of time left for him to do so. Micah Parsons, defensive end of the Packers. He is 1 sack away from moving past Derek Thomas for 4th most all-time in career sacks in their first 5 seasons. So Micah Parsons, 1 sack away from tying, a record as well in sacks. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver of the Vikings. He is 145 receiving yards away from breaking Hall of Famer Randy Moss's record of 8,375 yards through 6 seasons. He reached the single game record 13 times, which was only topped by Lance Allworth 17 times and Jerry Rice 15 times through 6 years. So Justin Jefferson, I mean, he's on the path to breaking 2 records this year. Now, Justin Jefferson, he has been breaking a lot of records since coming into the NFL. So Minnesota, they may really want to think about, when his contract comes up in the next 2-3 years, like, hey, we got to lock this guy in. We can't let him go. He may be one of our only chances if we start building a team around these guys that we have. J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson. Start building that team up, Minnesota. Chicago went out and did it, and look at them. And you got to hold on to the guys that are helping you be successful. So, Travis Kelce, tight end of the Chiefs. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about Travis Kelce. He is 8 catches away from moving past Jerry Rice for second all-time in receptions. He has also he has surpassed, or no, he is 8 catches from moving past Jerry Rice, where Jerry Rice has had 358 career receptions all time. Travis Kelce is 8 catches away from surpassing him. The only person that he has to catch up to after that is Jason Witten, who has 389 career receptions. So, also, he is 81 yards away to recording an 800-yard season, which will be his 12th consecutive season with 800 or more receiving yards. Jerry Rice is the only other player to do so. And also, Travis is one of 3 tight ends in history to have 30 touchdown catches in prime time. He is tied with Jason Witten, now, which means he has caught 30 touchdowns in his career on prime time. If he gets one on Sunday night, he would tie with Jimmy Graham at 31. So he is right now tied with Jason Witten. If he catches one on Sunday, he will tie with Jimmy Graham at 31. So, yeah. So if he catches one tonight on Sunday Night Football against the Texans, there you go. He's going to be tied with Jimmy Graham, who leads all time with touchdown catches on prime time. Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Eagles, with 1 passing and 1 rushing touchdown, could become 5th all-time to doing so in 30 career games. Josh Allen, Cam Newton, Steve Young, and Aaron Rodgers are the only other players who have recorded who has 30 career games with a passing and a rushing touchdown, and Jalen Hurts could be 5th all-time on that list if he does it on Monday Night Football. So, Jalen Hurts about to get into the record books. He is also tied for 6th in the NFL with 8 rushing touchdowns in 2025. He has 2 rushing touchdowns away from his 5th consecutive season with double-digit rushing touchdowns. That has only been done by 5 players. And that is LaDainian Tomlinson, who has 8 years in a row with double-digit rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry is on his 8th. Adrian Peterson had 7 years. Michael Turner and Sean Alexander had 5 years with double-digit rushing touchdowns. So there you go. Consecutive years with double-digit rushing touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the Chiefs, he could become the 6th quarterback with 25 passing touchdowns in 8 straight seasons. So, yeah, this could be his 8th year where he has 25 or more passing touchdowns consecutively. So Patrick Mahomes is going to go in the record books for that. And then the New York Jets, they are the first defense since 1940 to do not have a single interception in the first 12 games of the season. So the last time was 1940 when a team through their first 12 games did not have an interception. The Jets all season have not intercepted the ball. Every team in the NFL has done it, but the Jets. So it's crazy. What if the Jets go all season without intercepting the ball? That would be crazy if that happened. Crazy. So we'll have to see if the Jets, that's something we'll have to follow. Is it the Jets can get an interception or not in these next couple games as we go into week 14 of the NFL? So we're going to take about a 30 to 45 second break here on the Huddle Up podcast. We'll be right back after this. All right, so make sure you're heading over to all the Huddle Up Podcast social medias after the show and hitting that follow button on the YouTube, hitting that subscribe button over on X and TikTok at the Huddle Up Pod, on YouTube at the Huddle Up Pod. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and the follow buttons, and over on Twitch, make sure you're hitting that follow button and helping us build the Huddle Up Podcast through the 2025 season and beyond. You're going to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. That's how you follow. And we make all show announcements over on the X. We post videos almost daily on the TikTok, as well as the YouTube. So please go hit that follow button. Help us build the Huddle Up Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. Definitely be appreciated. The Huddle Up Podcast social medias are building. I mean, TikTok has been booming this week for us, which has been great. And we definitely appreciate that. So, yeah. I'm going to put up the social medias banner one more time for you guys. I need to open my window. It's super hot in this room. So give me 1 second as we get into week 14 of the NFL. All right. So we are back and we are going to get into week 14 of the NFL. You know, it gets very hot in this room. It does. It gets very, very hot in this room. Winter time out and the heat goes on, but when you're in the house and then you have the heat on, it is, stuffy and dry. It gets very warm. And when you're trying to do a podcast and continuously talking, that's that. It gets very, very hot. So, all right. So let's get into week 14 of the NFL. We had the Cowboys and Lions on Thursday night. The Lions went out and beat the Cowboys 44-30. Again, the Cowboys, playoff hopes are slim. They went on that nice 2-game winning streak where they went and beat the Eagles with that big comeback 2 weeks ago, and then beat the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. Sitting here thinking maybe the Cowboys are, they're trying to make a comeback, 2 games back from the NFC East, and now they lose on Thursday night. The Eagles win on Monday night. The Eagles are back up by 3 games in the NFC East. So, that's the thing is the Cowboys, a very inconsistent team. Very inconsistent. I feel bad for Cowboys fans. I do. Because you go out and you have all this hope that your team is going to pick things up and they start doing things, hey, they have that one tie, but they have so many wins and all this, and then they just start falling apart. And I feel bad for that. I do. I genuinely do. And I'm not just saying that. And I'm not just trying to ignore the flag for a minute. Ignore that. And I'm being genuine. That's one thing I always say is on this show, I'm going to be as unbiased as I can and give my true thoughts for a team, because the thing is we can have Cowboys fans watching the show, whether it's recorded or they're here live with us, and I got to be unbiased. I do. I have to be fair and give my fair assessment on teams, because if I'm sitting here and talking to the Eagles all day, nobody's going to want to watch that. Nobody is. But I'm honest. I'm an honest person. And if I feel that the Cowboys are doing something good, which I've done in the past, when they beat the Eagles 2 weeks ago and made that nice comeback, go back and watch that show. I gave a huge props to the Cowboys for doing that. So, but Cowboys right now, they are sitting in the 10th seed right now at 6-1, behind the Eagles in the NFC East. And it looks like the Eagles, as of right now, are going to be the only NFC East team that are, going to be in the playoffs. And the Eagles, for the first time in over 20 years, are going to be the first team in the NFC East to go back-to-back and win the NFC East. So, the Cowboys suffering that loss on Thursday night very much hurt them. The Lions, it kind of helped them a little bit winning, because now they're in 8th place at 8-5 in the playoff race, and they got to hope for a Panthers loss this week. So, actually, no, because the Panthers are on a bye week, so never mind. Bye week teams, by the way, Panthers, Patriots, Giants, and 49ers. This is the final week of the bye weeks. After today, after this week, we have no more bye weeks. 16 games moving forward from week 15 through week 18. We are going to have 16 games to wrap up the season every week, which is going to be awesome. So bye weeks are done after this week. Every team has successfully been through their bye week, and this is it. So let's get into it. The 1 o'clock set of games starts out with the Dolphins heading out to New York to take on the Jets in this AFC East matchup. The Jets right now, as we talk about all the time, they're hurting. The Jets are hurting. The Dolphins, though, they are creeping up into the playoff race. When you look at the Dolphins and where they're sitting right now in the playoff race, they're 5-7. Their probabilities are 1% right now. But when you look at the other teams in the AFC East, the Bills, who are 8-4, which the Dolphins are 3 games back from. But then you got the Patriots, who are 11-2, so the Dolphins are a couple games back from the Patriots. If Buffalo would have continued that slump that they were on, there could have been a huge chance for Miami to bounce back and possibly sneak in and take a playoff spot. But they would have needed other teams to kind of go on a slump as well. And you just don't see that happen to where multiple teams who are in a playoff race go on a slump to help a team who's been in a slump all season. And then they finally start picking it up. I see Miami going out winning this game today with no problems whatsoever over the Jets. And the Jets move one step closer to, a top 5 draft pick, So I don't see big things coming from this game today at all. We got an AFC North matchup. The Pittsburgh Steelers head out to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are currently 6-6, first in the AFC North. The Steelers are 6-6, second in the AFC North. This is a huge, huge matchup in the AFC North today with huge, huge playoff implications, and I'm expecting nothing less than a great matchup from these two teams today. I like that one. I was at the 55-minute mark. Okay. All right. We got an NFC South showdown when the New Orleans Saints head out to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. The Bucs right now sitting in first place in the NFC South at 7-5. The Saints are 2-10, out of the playoff race, and I just don't see anything big coming from the Saints in this game. I think the Bucs go out and take care of business, and that's that. Tampa Bay right now, they are, hanging in there, staying in the lead for the NFC South. They're 7-5. The Panthers are 7-6. Panthers on their bye week this week, so a huge opportunity for the Buccaneers to be ahead by a full game opposed to a half game with a win today. That's an advantage for them. Now, if the Panthers were playing today, the Panthers would have been coming off a huge momentum win last week against the Rams, which I think they would have possibly continued whoever they played this week, whether it would have been the Patriots, the Giants, or the 49ers. The Panthers already played the 49ers, so, it just would have all depended. Would have all depended on who they played today, on whether they would have continued their success or not. That was a huge win against the Rams last week. And could the Panthers possibly catch Tampa Bay? Could they? I think so. I think the Panthers, if they can continue their momentum from last week, even coming back next week from the bye week, I think they could, if they continue it, they could catch Tampa Bay. I think the Panthers could sneak into the playoffs. I believe so. I think they could. And I think they can do it as the division champions. The NFC South is wide open right now between the Bucs and the Panthers. Can you add the Falcons into that mix? Maybe. They're 4-8. They're 3 games back. But I think it's too late for the Falcons. Michael Penix going down hurt them very much. So I don't see the Falcons catching them. But I see the Buccaneers going out and taking care of business today against the Saints. So there you go. Taking the full game lead over the Panthers with the Panthers on the bye week. So we got a huge AFC South matchup when the Indianapolis Colts head out to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Colts, they were red hot at the beginning of the year. The last couple games, not so hot. They fell down to 8-4 in the season. They are now the 6th seed currently in the playoffs. With the Jaguars, they are 8-4 and the 3rd seed in the playoff race. This is a huge game with big playoff implications on who's going to represent the AFC South in the playoffs as the AFC South champions. And I got to start that over. The Indianapolis Colts head out to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Both teams are 8-4 right now in the AFC. This is the hard part about doing shows alone, is making sure you do great content for social media by yourself. Last time. And this is the cut. That's it. We got the Indianapolis Colts heading out to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars today. Both teams 8-4, both teams vying to win the AFC South this year and be the champion of the AFC South. Both teams right now in the playoff race. They're in. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd both be in. The question is who would get a home field game and who wouldn't? Who's going to win the AFC South and who doesn't? Well, today's game could answer that question because they're both 8-4, and this game could very much determine who is going to go into the playoffs as the AFC South champions. I fucked that up at the end. It's all good. I may still cut it. I'm going to have so many other games to choose from today. The Tennessee Titans, they head out to Cleveland to take on the Browns today. Both teams basically out of the playoffs. The Titans were already eliminated. The Browns, 1 foot out the door in the AFC North. This game, as I always say, games like this between the Titans and the Browns could end up being the best game of the weekend. Could end up being the most competitive, best game of the weekend. Who knows? Shedeur Sanders taking over in Cleveland. Cam Ward against Shedeur Sanders today. Just think, if both teams had great offenses and great defenses, this could have been the matchup of the week. If you go back to preseason, you were probably thinking, shoot, if Shedeur gets in there, man, the matchup we could have between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, that would be crazy, right? Yeah, would have been. Now it still could be a crazy matchup today, but no expectations. No expectations whatsoever coming from this one today. And I feel bad. I feel bad for these two guys because this is a matchup that could have been very well looked ahead for. So Titans and Browns today, maybe could be the game of the week. Who knows? Get out of there. You ever have an animal that gets into things they shouldn't be getting into? Yeah, I have a dog right now who's getting into stuff that she shouldn't be getting into. So, yeah. We got the Commanders heading out to Minnesota to take on the Vikings today. Jaden Daniels is back. J.J. McCarthy is back. But it's maybe a little too late for these two teams as the playoff hopes for them are slipping away. The loser could most likely be eliminated from playoff contention, and the winner is just going to hold on for another week. The Commanders and Vikings today out in Minnesota. The winner stays alive, and the loser could be gone. I actually like that one. That was a fun one. I just wung it. All right, we got the Seahawks heading out to Atlanta to take on the Falcons today. The Seahawks, 5th seed in the playoffs at 9-3, where the Falcons right now are 4-8, and they are hanging on for their playoff lives. The Falcons, could they bounce back and possibly get themselves in the playoffs? Possibly. But I think it's a little too late for them with Michael Penix going down, Kirk Cousins coming in and taking over. I just don't see it for the Falcons. So I think the Seahawks will go out and take care of business today, even though it's in Atlanta. I do. Last game of the 1:00 set, we got the Cincinnati Bengals heading out to Buffalo to take on the Bills. This is a huge matchup. Joe Burrow coming back last week, taking care of business, getting the Bengals to 4-8. The Bills coming back out, getting back on track with their offense and winning games. They are now 8-4. The playoff race between these two teams, I want to start that over. The final game on the 1:00 set, we got the Cincinnati Bengals heading out to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Bills right now sitting in the 7th seed at 8-4 in the playoff race. Meanwhile, the Bengals came out last week, beat the Ravens on Thanksgiving Day. They are now 4-8, 2 games back in the AFC North. We posed the question last week, is it too late for Joe Burrow? We said yes, but is it really too late for Joe Burrow and the Bengals with only being back 2 games from the Steelers and Ravens? We'll have to see if Cincinnati can go out and take care of business today against Buffalo, because if they could, we can very much see the Bengals go on a streak and get themselves back into playoff contention. I like that one. I do. I was at 104. I'm going to mark that at 104. So I have no problem doing things alone, but it's just marking things for social media. Again, we post clips all the time on social media, and these are the clips that you try and record and put together and try and clip them up. And on top of that, it's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try and be off air by noontime. That way I can go cut, clip, and post by 1 o'clock, right? And I'm on great schedule. We only have a couple games to talk about quick, 4 o'clock games, and then the 2 primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, which Sunday night, Monday night normally are the 2 games that get automatically posted because they're the primetime games. So I have to sit and decide from 5 or 6 other games of what I want to decide on post on. That's why when you look at our social medias, I always post Sunday and Monday night. And then there's always like 1 or 2 games from the rest of the week that I post about. And that's the highlight. And then sometimes we'll have a social media exclusive. A couple weeks ago, we had a great Cam had a great take on the Bears game. And it was a somewhat of a long take. So we made that a TikTok exclusive because it was like a 4-minute take, which was great. It was a great take, but it would have been too long for our YouTube shorts. So I just put that over on the TikTok, and it was a great take. And there was no way I couldn't put that out there. Like, I had to. And it was such a great take. Got a great response from you guys on social media, and it's very much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So let me get myself set up here for a second because we got a couple games to talk about yet from the 4 o'clock set. We got the Monday and Sunday night games to talk about, and we'll wrap things up here for Week 14's preview. So make sure you guys are heading over to the social medias over on X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Pod, on Twitch at the Huddle Podcast, and hitting that follow button, helping us build the Huddle Podcast through the 2025 season and beyond. We greatly appreciate it. Again, we post videos pretty much daily almost. I mean, videos are going to be posted after the show from this show today. Sorry, I didn't see that we had some. If you do not win your conference championship, you should not be in the playoffs. Also, CFB, well, Notre Dame does not play in a conference, but we love them like a son. So therefore, we just pretend they won something. So does that mean Ohio State lost CFB? Is this a conversation that happened in one of our things? I think that's what this is. Well, anyways, thank you for coming in and checking out the live show. Appreciate that. I'm guessing this is a conversation that you had with somebody about I'm trying to catch up on this here. If you don't win your conference championship, you should not be in the playoffs. Also, well, Notre Dame does not play in a conference, but we love them. So therefore, we just pretend they won something. Ohio State is not in because they lost. Well, no, because they are 13-1. I love how these people are so inconsistent. And I mean, here's the thing, and I'll mention this real quick. I mean, we did get past all the college football stuff for the day. Me and John are going to cover everything on Tuesday from Selection Sunday today, and we're going to talk more about the college. We're going to talk everything college football playoffs on the Tuesday show at 7 p.m. Okay, so we'll be live here on Tuesday at 7 p.m. I'm going to say this real quick, and I made my predictions earlier in the show on what I think the playoffs are going to look like. Okay. And again, we're going to cover that on Tuesday as well. I mean, sports talk and everything, it's can be fun at the same time. It cannot be fun. Why? Because, everybody has their opinion on everything. Okay. Everybody has their own opinion on things. And this is what I always say. This is one, and, I'm trying to say that's the best way I can. Let me just put it this way, and then I got to move on. Okay. Everybody is going to have their own opinion on everything. Okay. But that's all it is an opinion. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just an opinion. And everybody is entitled to their own opinion on things. So That's why, as much as people will say one thing and then the next week they'll say another thing. It's because things are always changing, right? Things are always changing. So, for example, one week we sit here and say, the Bengals are pretty much 1 foot out the door in the playoff race. Now, they went out and beat the Ravens last week. They're 4-8. They're 2 games back in their division lead. The Bengals, all of a sudden, are very much alive. And last week, we were sitting here saying we think it's too late for the Bengals. Now, sitting here this week, and it's like, okay, this may not be too late for them being 2 games out. There's always going to be an inconsistency because things are always changing. So as much as it may seem that people are being inconsistent about something, just remember things are always changing in statistics. Things are always changing as far as what happens, with games and outcomes and all that stuff. I get what you mean by people being inconsistent on their opinions on things, but again, things are always changing. I'm not taking anybody's side. It's just that things are always changing, and people's opinions are always going to change because of the change of things all the time, if that makes sense. Okay. And that's why opinions are great, because nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. It's just an opinion, and it's just your thought on what you think is going to happen or may very well have, already happened. We just haven't noticed it yet. So I appreciate you coming in though. I really do. Thank you for coming in today. And, I hope that you hit the follow button on our social medias, hit the follow button here, and check out our live shows every Tuesday night at 7, every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m., and go follow us over on the social medias. Thank you. So let's get into the rest of week 14 in the NFL. We're going to kick things off with an AFC West matchup. The Denver Broncos head out to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. I really do not see the Raiders having much of a chance in this matchup. The Broncos are just a very good team right now, playing some very good football, and I think the Broncos go out and take care of business. That's bottom line. I don't think the Raiders have much of a chance in this ball game, and I think the Broncos go out and take care of the business. We got an NFC North matchup. The NFC North leading Chicago Bears at 9-3, heading out to Green Bay to take on the 8-3-1 Packers. This has a lot of implications to this game. The lead for the NFC North and possibly a lead in the NFC playoffs. The Bears right now sit at the 1 seed in the playoff race. They have the Rams right behind them. But if the Rams were to go out and lose their game this week, and let's say the Eagles were to lose their game on Monday night, and the Packers go out and beat the Bears, we could very well much see the Packers move from the 6th seed up to the 1 seed. So huge game today out in Green Bay between the Bears and the Packers. I like that one. And as much as I appreciate, people coming in and checking out the show, I kind of really wish, and I'll say this, I really wish we wouldn't get, comments that were posted from a post brought in. Because I tried to follow this as much as I can. It is like a conversation that happened in a post. So I get it. I'm guessing this happened. I don't know if this happened on one of our posts or not. Again, people have loves for their team. I mean, I love the Eagles as much as anything. I got to be unbiased on the show here. I do, because we can have Cowboys fans watching. We can have Commanders fans and Giants fans watching. And I want to be just as fair to them as I am to the Eagles. But I give my real raw opinion and feelings on how I think. When the Eagles lost to the Cowboys 2 weeks ago, go check out how I was on the show. And I wasn't being fake. I was being real. I was giving my props to Dallas because they played a hell of a game. Coming back from a 21-0 deficit was a hell of a showing by Dallas. And also, I'll admit, then they go out and beat Kansas City on Thanksgiving. It's like, oh no, man, this is kind of scary because our offense is struggling right now, but Dallas is picking it up. But I got to give them props because they're playing their hearts out. And Dallas isn't that bad of a team. I'll say this: Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they don't play for a conference, no, and it's rough. I mean, me and John talked about this 2 weeks ago. Do we think that Notre Dame should be in a conference and be competing for something and not just getting almost that automatic insert, pending on how they do in the regular season, getting almost that automatic insert into the playoffs? I mean, it's kind of beneficial for Notre Dame to be doing what they're doing right now, but at the same time, not competing in a conference, it's like, yeah, I mean, the opinions are going to be out there for that. They are. They're going to be out there regardless. But I'll say this. I think Ohio State, they're still going to get the 4 seed. I do. I don't think Ohio State falls far, and I still think they get the first round bye. I do, but we'll have to see. Let's get back into the NFL talk. Let's finish things off. We got a couple minutes here, and then I'm going to get off air so I can start working on on stuff for you guys to check out. We got the Rams heading out to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Rams right now 9-3. The Cardinals right now out of the playoff race at 3-9. I don't see the Cardinals even having a chance. Kyler Murray being out, Marvin Harrison being out. I mean, their running back situation is a mess. I don't see the Cardinals giving up too much of a fight in this game. I see the Rams going out and dominating this game. So that's that. On Sunday Night Football, we got the Houston Texans heading out to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Both teams are battling for their playoff lives. The Texans are 7-5. The Chiefs are 6-6. They are both behind the Bills, who are oh my God, I got to start that over. I do. I got to start that over. I can't fuck up Sunday Night Football. Sorry. We got the Houston Texans heading out to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Now, the Texans are 7-5. The Chiefs 6-6. For the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, the Chiefs are fighting for their playoff lives. Meanwhile, the Texans, who had a huge win over the Colts last week, they're hanging on, trying to get in, and are very much in the mix for their division with the Jaguars and Colts. The Jaguars and Colts are 8-4. The Texans are 7-5. The Texans have a huge chance of sneaking back in and taking over their division, but they need to go out and win this game tonight against the Chiefs. The question is could they do it and take care of the business they need to do so? All right. Last one. On Monday Night Football, we got the Philadelphia Eagles heading out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Now, the Chargers currently sitting in the 5 seed at 8-4. The Eagles are in the 3 seed at 8-4. I got to do that again. Sorry. We got the Philadelphia Eagles heading out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Both teams right now in the playoff mix, trying to stick around to where they're at. The Chargers, obviously 2 games back from the Broncos in the AFC West, so still have a chance to win their division. The Eagles, meanwhile, they're leading their division, and if they win this week, they will be 3 games up from the Cowboys and could possibly seal the deal for the NFC East. Huge game on Monday night out in Los Angeles, so hopefully, oh man, I fucked that up. I get right to the end, and it's like, okay, we're going to do this. We got the Philadelphia Eagles heading out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Both teams in the playoff mix right now. The Eagles leading the NFC East, while the Chargers are 2 games back from the AFC West leading Broncos. The Eagles, they've been off track the past couple weeks. They're looking to get back on track with their offense. And the Chargers, well, they're 2 games back from the Broncos, very much in the mix for the AFC West. Which team goes out and gets the win on Monday night? We'll have to find out. I like that one. All right. So that's that for week 14 in the NFL. As we know, the pick challenge going on right now between me and John is very much alive. I'm 125-71 on the year. John is 127-69. The college football one is updated from yesterday. I won my pick yesterday, or this weekend, so I'm 12-3. John won his pick, so he's 14-1 in the college football. But 125 and 71. John is 127 and 69. He's 2 games up on me right now with the win on Thursday night because John took the Lions. I took the Cowboys. He's now 3 games up. Our differentials are the Colts and Jaguars. I took the Colts. John took the Jaguars. I took the Bears. He took the Packers. And then I took the Texans. He took the Chiefs. So those are the only 3 games that we have to really worry about today. So, I mean, there's a chance John can start building a bigger lead. As big as 5 games, I believe. Yeah, 5 games. But there's a chance I can end up taking over. It all depends on what happens. So we'll have to see and find out what happens and see if I can catch up in the pick challenge and surpass him. We'll have to see. But that's it for today's show, guys. Please make sure you're heading over to all the social medias over on the Huddle Hub Podcast on X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. That's how you follow on the YouTube. And you can check out videos that are basically posted every day on the YouTube and the TikTok. And make sure you're hitting the follow button on the Twitch as well. All the links to all of our bios are down, or all of our links to all our social medias are in the bio on the Twitch channel. Just click on the social media that you desire. Hopefully it's all of them. Help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. If you want to follow me on social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat, Metal Mike 714. That's where you can find me personally. I go live. I do video game lives on TikTok. Fortnite, college football, currently Madden. I do gaming lives on TikTok. So if you want to go follow me on TikTok, there you go. Metal Mike 714. That's where you can find me. But I do a lot of my content creating on the shows here. Me and John will be back live on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to cover all the stuff from Selection Sunday, which starts in about 10 minutes. So we'll have everything covered for the college football playoffs for you guys Tuesday night. So come check out the show on Tuesday night. Please, would definitely be appreciated. And make sure you're checking out all of our social medias for content that gets posted almost every day. John is also working on the content right now for our college football dynasty and our newly Madden franchise. So the Madden stuff, it's going to be might be a couple days before the introduction is posted. You can actually go over to the YouTube right now, over on YouTube, and click on the live bar on our social media on YouTube, and you can check out our live from yesterday, the raw take of before John cuts it up and turns it into a social media post. You can go check out the live from yesterday on our introduction to our Madden franchise, if you'd like to. If you want to wait till John makes the post and he cuts it up and edits it and everything, then you're more than welcome to do that as well. You can check out him on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at CandymanJH. But a lot of our he posts our college football and our Madden stuff on his personal YouTube, as well as the Huddle Up Podcast YouTube. So go check that out. Plus, I'm going to be starting to do my my player this week. So keep an eye out, because I'm going to be going live doing my my Road to Glory leading up to my Superstar Madden. So we're going to start doing that sometime this week. So stay tuned. And yeah, make sure you're hitting that follow button. So really appreciate everybody who stopped out today for today's show. Like I said, me and John will be back on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to run down everything that happens today from Selection Sunday. We're going to run down the final top 25 of the year, and also talk about the bowl games that teams are going to be in. So we'll run down the bowl season and get you guys ready for that. Be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Until Tuesday night, we'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Deuces.